Hi! In the first two parts of the traumatization videos, we went through the traumatization process. We looked at what was going on in the traumatizer, that he creates or she creates a desire to annihilate, generates it, and then the child has to cut out this part of reality in order to go on living with this traumatizer. And so the dangerous part of the reality that has been perceived is now unconscious and not accessible anymore. I want to show now how psychological dysfunction or psychological disorder, like a phobic reaction, I think that's the simplest example, but I think it holds also for different disturbances, is connected to a traumatization, or how it hides within such a disorder. Because I rarely heard that a phobic reaction is based on a traumatization, but I think it does. So in order to approach this, I think it's important to differentiate between several or different forms of anxiety reactions. And on the one hand, there is the normal anxiety reaction that I would call fear. And on the other hand, there is a phobic reaction. And I think the feeling at the core of a phobic reaction is a panic. And that's a very different experience than a fear. So let's look at the fear. A fear comes up in a really dangerous situation where damage to what you have or what you are or to you as a whole being is really present. Like you're driving on a winterly road and you're losing control of your car because ice is under your wheels, and maybe you were dreaming about the destination because you expected to meet a lovely person, and now you notice that the car is skidding. And that's really a dangerous situation, of course. What happens is that the attention involuntarily shifts toward the actual situation. The dreaming about the future ceases at once, and you're calculating possible outcomes unconsciously or involuntarily. And you calculate what happens if the car falls into the ditch, or if you are able to turn the wheel or something. There are several scenarios that are quickly calculated. And also maybe the body is prepared for a fight or for an impact. And so the muscles tense up and the attention is really focused on the danger. What this means is that the fear is a very healthy and productive and helpful reaction. What also is interesting is that the fear is not felt very predominantly, because it's just going through your body, and if you're not fighting against it, you just let yourself be fearful, then the fear does its work, orients you towards the danger, and maybe you find a twist and you stop the car before it falls off the road. So that would be a very productive and helpful emotional reaction that helps you living. Very different is a phobic reaction. Let's imagine that a spider scurries across the room where you are vacuuming. And if you have a phobic reaction to spiders, then you cannot go on vacuuming anymore. So the emotional reaction is an obstacle in your plans. It effectively bars you from going on with vacuuming. And if you try to touch the spider, although you know it's not dangerous, I mean, in Germany there are no really dangerous spiders. Maybe you're listening to this in a country where really dangerous spiders occur. But I think in those countries it's less prevalent to have a phobic reaction to spiders. So that's interesting that the psyche always looks for situations that are not really dangerous to put on a phobic reaction onto that. So the spider is not dangerous, you know that, and nevertheless you cannot bring yourself to touch the spider, and the body is reacting like wild, like crazy, and you're sweating and you're trembling and you cannot go on. And so the fear does not help you process or cope with something that is really present. And that's the confusing and interesting part of a phobic reaction, where of course the psychologist is interested and says, what does this mean? And I will tell you what this means. But first finish the differentiation. So it's not helpful with the present situation. There is no danger, and you very intensely and acutely feel the panic. You're shaking, you're trembling, you don't like the feeling. It's torturing you. It's painful. It's not pleasant, and you really want to get rid of this feeling. And that's what phobic people often present as a problem, that they say, I want to get rid of this phobia. I don't want to have these feelings. These feelings are my enemy, and they fight with their emotions. And it's understandable because these emotions are so obstructing their lives. They sometimes cannot go out of the house, or if they're afraid of driving over a bridge, they cannot reach their workplaces, and I mean that's very debilitating. So I can understand how they come to hate or resent their phobia. Okay, I'll leave it at that, and in the next part I'll try to explain how the phobia points to a traumatization and how they are really connected to each other. Okay, see you soon.